Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down.
All right, here we are, folks.
Can't be afraid to leave this out. We got this far, don't know how. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we're gonna let it rain. Tonight, we're gonna let it rain. Tonight, we're gonna let it rain. Just like the sunrise, we're gonna let it rain.
Welcome back once again. This is Chris Report, and he assured me that St. Simon's down in Boulders. Folks, this is Chris Wyatt reporting from South Africa. Hello, folks. Welcome back to Chris Wyatt Reports. It is Tuesday, March 12th, 2024. Today is the day that Donald John Trump will likely clinch, secure the Republican nomination for President of the United States with 1,215 delegates. Today, there are 161 delegates at stake across America in primaries. Donald Trump is approximately 139 delegates short. Odds are he'll probably make it today. If he doesn't, he'll definitely make it next Tuesday, the 19th. Welcome back to the program, folks. Just a little ranting before we get started here. Mild ranting. But it's bad enough that we get hit with automatic gratuities for service not rendered. Like when you go to Five Guys, they expect you to pay gratuity when you have to stand in line, wait at the till, pay, you place the order, and then you collect the order on your own. Nobody does anything for you. So I know exactly what the gratuity is for, but that's getting old. We're also seeing automatic gratuities on things. We're seeing outrageous price hikes. Wait till you see some of the prices from a couple decades ago in a ShopRite cart that we're going to show you a little bit later on, just how excessive we have been fleeced and why things are so expensive. But let me just talk about this. Service delivery or lack thereof. I'm tired of it. It's gotten ridiculous. Now, I live in a residential neighborhood, and we have services like United Parcel Service, the Postal Service, FedEx, DHL, all deliver packages and letters in this neighborhood, as they do all over this country and in many countries around the world. But here's the thing. I'm getting really tired of lazy delivery drivers for these delivery services, package delivery services. Today it was FedEx, who are simply too lazy to carry a package to the next house. So I was just disturbed as I was recording a video as a FedEx driver dropped 2 boxes on my porch, banged against a wall to disturb me, and then got in a truck and pulled away. Now, this was because he delivered packages across the street. My neighbor who lives, not even 100 meters from my house, about 40 meters, 35 meters from my house is where the neighbor's porch is. 2 large boxes, one, I don't know, some diaper thing and some other creche thing. Anyway, huge. And the second box was quite heavy. And rather than simply drive the truck forward 30 meters and deliver it over there, or simply carry it, the lazy ass driver dropped the neighbor's stuff and then came over and dropped that person's stuff in my yard. Now, my mailbox is clearly labeled. It has reflective yellow tape with black letters on it you can see from 100 meters away. It's also broad daylight. The neighbor has white reflective tape with black letters, which you can see from about 100 meters away. It's also daylight. It's a bright sunny day. It's not raining. I'm sick of lazy service people who don't deserve their jobs. This is ridiculous. So why must I be disturbed and have to go collect packages and deliver them? This isn't the first time this has happened. This is at least a dozen times this year, and we're only into March. My neighbor orders a lot of stuff, and there's nothing I can do about it other than leave the stuff on my porch and tell her to come by my porch occasionally and collect it. Really annoying. And this happens the world over. Useless. It's like Papa John's charges us $5 to deliver a pizza. $5 to deliver pizza. They don't give that money to the driver, so why are they charging us $5? And you're expected to pay gratuity on top of it. Not to mention the pizzas cost 3 times what they cost just 3 years ago. Yeah, I don't shop at Papa John's anymore. I don't eat at McDonald's anymore. I don't go to Five Guys anymore. There's a lot of things I don't do anymore. I'm not going to pay these highway robbery prices for piss poor service, poor quality food. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. And I hope that you feel the same way. And if you don't, that's cool. If you've got money to burn, I don't. Speaking of money to burn, Courtney's just given us a super chat here. It says the Postal Service, tough job. Delivering parcels, the hardest part of the job. Sorting, delivering mail is hard enough. Courtney, that's the Postal Service. This is a delivery service that gets paid a premium for package delivery. The name is clearly labeled on there. The address is clearly labeled on there. It's just lazy. I'm surprised they even got delivered to the correct neighborhood, considering how lazy that delivery person is. Yep. Anyway, welcome back to the program, folks. Let's see who we got in the chat. We've got Jan, and we've got Val, Vilma Erasmus, Teresa, Charles Van Onslen, and Ants is here. Hey, Ants, how's it going? Val Cooper, I already said Val. Chris Marie's here. Brian Lawrenson, Hester Kotza. Courtney, okay, got a day off. Dylan Comberg is here, as always. Dylan, our bot is back. And who else we got there? Am I missing anybody? There's Hendo, okay. Here's Hendo. And there's Erica, okay. Pip Jacobs. And then the super chat from Courtney, which I didn't do a ring on. Marilyn Brokenshaw is here as well. Welcome, Marilyn. And Ashley Engelbrecht, Monray Siebritz. Oh, there's Courtney with another one. U.S. Postal Service has to deliver Amazon also. Yeah, that does suck. That was the stupid decision made by the Postmaster General or somebody who signed a contract with Amazon, which led to massive losses at the Postal Service because they were delivering packages. They were forced to deliver them over the weekend, and the Postal Service was never open on Sunday. So they had to hire people and pay them extra time to work on a Sunday to deliver packages for Amazon. It was a brilliant deal for Amazon. It made them a ton of money, and it cost the Postal Service a lot of morale and a lot of money. Really shame. Rod's here. Good to see you there. And Ivan's here. Welcome for you as well. All right, folks. Thank you for the second super chat there. Courtney, it's been a real slow super chat month. We are halfway through the month. And let's take a look real quick. Revenue. Ooh, good Lord. We are at 1/4 of last month's revenue, which was only 70% of the 60% of the previous month. So there's that super chat. Thank you for that one. So we're halfway through the month almost, and we are way low. So thank you for that. This is a salty cracks month when it comes to that. What's this? Cannot be monetized. What video is this? C point. What? That video is from like 2 years ago. They just told me I can't monetize a video from 2 years ago. This is over 2 years ago. This is when Debbie Ells was attacked at Sea Point. They tell me I can't monetize that video. I love YouTube. They are just so on the ball. Not. Except when they want to censor you. Then they're on top of things. Thomas Hara, welcome to you. There's the second super chat from Courtney. Thank you for that. Or is that Patrick? No, Patrick just won too. Great time. All flesh. And yeah, how was Big Boys on... Yeah, so what was the game? I didn't catch the score there. I never got around looking at that. Did Wales win that game or did France? I never did look at that, see. Wales, come on. Google. I don't know how I got distracted. I was busy. Okay. What was the final there? Oh, France killed them. Okay. 45-24. Yeah, that's what I expected. Okay. All right, cool. Who cares, says Charles. Menage a trois, says France. Okay, thank you very much for that. Lorraine Slabbert. Hey, welcome, Lorraine. Pleasure to have you there. Lovely avatar, by the way. And there's a super chat from Patrick for 35 Rand. Thank you, Patrick. Debbie's back on track. And okay, cool beans. All right, good to see everybody's doing well. Yeah, so some news today. We've got a lot of stuff happening in South Africa. Look, I took out the murders. I mean, there's a bunch of them. A young girl's body was found in a hut in a house somewhere, and this other murder and another murder, and it's too much. Yeah, it's a pleasure to see you here, Lorraine. Thanks for subscribing. I don't think we've chatted before. Pleasure to see you on the program. Come on, YouTube. Stop playing around here. Be nice. There we go. 62 people currently here. Just 24 likes. What's up with that? Here we go. That was easy. I mean, come on, people. Come on. Have you been to Copilot? Did you see what Copilot said about me? Did you see that? Did you see what Copilot said about me? I mean, you got to like this, right? I mean, I like it. I don't like artificial intelligence because I'm afraid of Skynet. I don't trust Skynet. Those Terminators will be coming. But this is what Copilot said about William M. Chris Wyatt, a distinguished professional military officer with an impressive track record of accomplishments. You can look it up. Just type it in. You'll see this. His extensive pedigree has earned him well-deserved honors and recognition in the security sector. Let's delve into his remarkable journey. Background in his upbringing in a farm instilled a strong work ethic and a thirst for knowledge, largely self-taught and self-educated in world events. Expertise extends across various domains, including international development and education, with experiences spanning Africa, Europe, Southwest Asia, and North America. Yep. Trained as a foreign area officer, proficient in 6 languages, background in counterterrorism, counterintelligence, signals intelligence, national security strategy, bunch of jobs that I did. And then teaching and impact. His passion for Africa is evident in his role as an educator and motivator at the U.S. Army War College. He imparts his wisdom to a global audience. Notably, he played a pivotal role in the rebuilding of the Armed Forces of Liberia, leaving behind a capable force of 2,137 soldiers ready to defend their country. Unquestioned integrity. Colonel Wyatt's integrity is beyond reproach. His leadership has inspired men and women to achieve great feats under his command. I didn't write this, folks. This is from artificial intelligence. His ability to realign thinking and vision extends even to Fortune 500 companies. In summary, Colonel William M. Chris Wyatt is a remarkable individual whose impact resonates across continents, and his dedication to education and security continues to shape the world. Now, if there was ever an argument that AI is dangerous, look at that tripe. Look at that. So if you ever question the validity of artificial intelligence, there it is right there. Copilot says glowing things about me. So, oh, you're not going to be over it yet there, Hendo. I haven't mine since December. You're not getting rid of yours. All right, AI is just sucking up the pens. Yeah, AI is definitely sucking up. All right, so enough ranting about delivery people. Leo Vinyasa from Ninesport, before Copilot makes you too important, give us the news. 140 rand super chat. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. What does AI want from you? Exactly. What do they want? There's the Leo Vin. Thank you for the super chat, Leo Vin. Wow. Yeah, what does AI want from Chris Wyatt? That's a good question for AI. What does Copilot want from Chris Wyatt? They do that on Copilot. Let's see what. Okay, that's it. I got to do it. Let's see what they say. Okay, we're having fun with this. Okay, before we get to the news. Okay, Copilot. Okay, Copilot. Here we go. Microsoft. Okay. What does Copilot AI want from Colonel William M. Let's see what it says. Ooh, I apologize. I cannot provide any information about Colonel Wyatt. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask. Ooh, look at that. Look at that. So I guess it won't say things about people individually like that. Oh, that's interesting. It wants all my knowledge. Yeah. AI is the Copilot AI is draining from my brain so they become better at AI. Oh my goodness. Anyway, that's funny stuff. That is funny stuff, folks. Funny stuff. Boy. Okay. Copilate. What is that? Okay. All right. Let's get to the news, folks. Plenty of news to talk about. First off, the water crisis in Johannesburg. Not only can the South African government not deliver electricity for its residents and its citizens, now it can't even deliver water. And this is a consequence of the ANC diverting money meant for the Highlands Water Project back in the 1990s, started by the National Party and then completed in the early years of the ANC. Instead of building all of the lines coming from the mountain water, they only did the one line. As a consequence, there's a massive water shortage, and the decrepit state of pipes and stations and reservoirs in Gauteng province means that we've got a serious problem here. And so as an election approaches, South Africans don't have water in Gauteng, a province where the ANC, according to the Brenthurst Foundation, is polling at just 33% of likely voters. 1 in 3 voters say they'll pull the lever for the ANC. This could get even worse for them in Gauteng. Joburg water crisis, day 10. Mayor heads for crisis talks as residents are set to protest. Johannesburg Mayor Kabelo Gwamanda is headed for crisis talks this evening over the city's 10-day water outage, affecting hundreds of thousands of residents. With more than 20 suburbs having gone more than a week with no water, he's meeting ward councillors of affected areas tonight in an attempt to provide critical information on the recovery of the system and mitigation measures in place to minimize the disruption of residents. Now, let's be very clear about 2 points with South Africa, folks. Number one, South Africa is not a well-watered country. With the exception of the East Coast, the country is not well-watered. It's a water shortage, and that's even if there aren't 60 million people crowding the landscape. It's a country with very dry areas, and only 12% of the land is arable. So there is already a water challenge in South Africa. However, the current crisis, like we saw in Cape Town, and as we're seeing in Johannesburg, these are man-made problems. These are man-made problems. It's not because there's insufficient water. It's like malnutrition around the world. Malnutrition around the world has nothing to do with the lack of food. Humans produce more than enough food. Look at the rates of obesity in every country around the world these days, not just developed countries. The issue is a maldistribution, maladministration of resources by the ANC government at the national, provincial and local levels. And this is what has led to this crisis. This is a disaster of proportions that are entirely man-made. Entirely man-made. Plenty of water. It just needs to be handled properly. But it isn't. It isn't. I've been at the source of the water coming out of the Highlands Water Project in the Free State, just coming across from Lesotho there, outside of Clarence. And I've seen that one project that's actually functioning. So the Independent Electoral Commission has fired an electoral official who leaked the information about the ANC and MK party list over the weekend. An employee of the Electoral Commission of South Africa has been identified as having leaked the ANC and Mkhonto Sizwe candidate list on Friday. In a press briefing today, the CEO, C. Mababolo, said a preliminary investigation found that the leak emanated inside the commission. That was on Monday, Today, he told Newsroom Africa that the official had been fired. The official was given an opportunity to make a representation as to why they should not be terminated, and we received representation, and on that basis, terminated the relationship with the employee. But that's not sufficient. This person needs to be prosecuted for crimes. This is clearly not permissible under South African law. They must be prosecuted, not simply fired. Don't let them get away with it. Put them in jail for their conduct. You would tolerate this, you tolerate this. I'm not aware of obesity being declared a disability. Yes, MK is just another wing of the ANC cartel, as is the EFF, as the Patriotic Alliance, as is COPE. They're all just ANC. Yeah. Cyril Ramaphosa describes Democratic Alliance's call for international observers as mortgaging our democracy. Yeah, I'm sorry. Is that different than the ANC selling South Africa to China? I mean, honestly, I think it's a fair question. President Cyril Ramaphosa has no kind words for the DA as he criticized the party for writing to Western countries to monitor and ensure the integrity of the upcoming national provincial elections, despite South Africa having had independent observers during previous polls. So why is he upset that the DA wants international observers? Because they're not from bootlicking SADC countries or the corrupt United Nations. They're coming from Western democracies, and that sort of offends the sensibilities of Cyril Ramaphosa, even though South Africa's had these observers from these countries for years. But the problem is this. They're too busy taking up the backside from Tehran, Beijing, and Moscow, and afraid of losing their paymasters who are funding their campaign. Are they? We don't know. But somebody's funding it. There's been no declaration of where all the money came from. Why are no journalists in South Africa asking this question? I asked it last week. 102 million rand settlement for a debt that was 5 years old. They settled it in December after the sheriff went to Luthuli House to inventory their property and determined their bank accounts had $5,000 US. Not even 100,000 rand. Excuse me, not even a million rand. Where in the world did 102 million rand come from? And the 20 million rand for the 112th birthday bash at Mobile Stadium in Nelspruit. Or all the posters going up now. Where is the media? Where is News 24? Where is the Times Live? Daily Maverick, which is pretty good at doing investigative journalism. Where is their investigative journalism? Why is no journalist in South Africa asking the most obvious question? Where is the money coming from? We saw this movie. Jerry Maguire, Cuba Gooding Jr. Show me the money! Show me the money. Where is the money coming from? I'm running a campaign right now. You have to disclose these things. Where is the money, ANC? Where's it coming from? Tehran? Bell Pottinger? The Oppenheimers? Beijing? Why is no journalist in South Africa asking this question? They're all frauds, every one of them. And the alternative media too. The alternative media, not asking this question. It's the most obvious question. It doesn't take a rocket scientist. It doesn't take a PhD to go, wait a second. If the media reported at the end of November 2023 that the ANC had a total of $5,000 US, how did they suddenly come up with $5 million to pay a 5-year-old debt that they refused to pay and the court was going to foreclose on them? And then hold a big birthday bash for another couple million. Why is nobody asking this question? It's kind of like Joe Biden's new budget, $7 trillion. Do you know that in 2000, the United States national budget was $1.8 trillion? Today, it's 7.6. And that's nearly $2 trillion in deficit. And this jackal has the audacity to say, well, I've lowered the deficit. Lowered what? You've lowered the value of the dollar. You've lowered our future aspirations of prosperity. You've ruined our future. You've mortgaged it, but you're not alone, Joe. You're not alone. All the jackals sitting in Washington, D.C., in the House and Senate who passed these bills are with you for the past 50 years. Yeah, who does run the media? No one's asking that question. Well, calls for the KwaZulu-Natal Premier to intervene as a crippling strike is crushing Durban. The rubbish is piling up, and no doubt the rodent count is climbing. The Democratic Alliance is calling for KZN Premier Nomusa Dube Nkube to intervene as a citywide strike by disgruntled municipal employees enters its third week. Francois Rogers said they want a meeting with the premier due to the lack of service delivery in the country's third largest municipality. Situation is now critical as anarchy reigns. This amid outages of both water and electricity that have lasted 10 days or more, with reports of sabotage and vandalism on municipal property. Look at that. Piles of rubbish dumped by illegal dumpers on the North Coast Road. Wow. Look at that. Slamming the threats of intimidation, violence against non-striking staff, and non-collection of refuse, Rogers said the adverse effects of the strike pose a growing and serious risk of health hazards. Yeah, it does. Vermin, rodents. Cleanup teams had to be escorted by the police because they're under threat by strikers. These people should all be sacked. Well, the city of Schwane and Mayor Cilliers Brink have gone out not just to informal townships to look for illegal electricity hookups. They're finding them in upscale, affluent neighborhoods, places like Brooklyn. Yeah, people stealing electricity there. City of Schwane discovers illegal electricity connections at homes in affluent suburbs. On Tuesday, Schwane officials visited properties in Brooklyn, Waterkloof Glen, and Edlardus Park to disconnect electricity services to homes that owe the municipality hundreds of thousands in rand unpaid electricity bills. Let's be clear about something very clear. The story is misleading from News 24. It says homes. Yes, undoubtedly there were some homes here, but the story focuses on guest houses and lodges. That's different than a home. That's a business that's stealing electricity, not individuals. So there's undoubtedly probably both, but the story doesn't focus on that. The officials were accompanied by the mayor of Schwane, Cilliers Brink, started the day in the central business district where three small businesses on a residential property, which cumulatively owed more than $6.3 million in electricity, were disconnected. From there, they went to a home in Hatfield where they were disconnected because an outstanding bill of 270,000 rand. How in the world do you run up a bill of 270,000 rand for electricity? What are these people doing? Holding raves? I mean, honestly, 270,000 rand electricity bill? Who has that kind of bill? My goodness. 270,000 rand. Let's do the math real quick. That's insane. 270,000 rand. How do you, as a resident, 270,000 divided by 19, that's $14,000 in electricity. That's crazy. They also discovered that a prepaid meter had been tampered with. And next was a residential home in Brooklyn, which was a guest house. And according to city officials, the owners in arrears of more than 970,000 rand. 970,000 rand. Wow. 970. That's insane, folks. Divided by 19. No wonder cities can't function. $51,000 they owe in electricity. Take the property. Confiscate the property. Yeah, that's some major glow lights. You're right about that, Rebel Canners. Well, Jacob Zuma says, hey, I'm going to walk away unless we get into power. Jay-Z threatens to walk away. MK party leader Jacob Zuma said if voters don't vote for his party and liberate black people, that would be the last straw and he would give up on the cause. Excuse me, liberate black people? Liberate them from what? Liberate black people from what? Folks, has anyone noticed the ANC? Notice Propaganda 24 and all the legacy fake media in South Africa. None of them are running stories today about, hey, yeah, let me play this out. Okay, so this is what they do every day. Well, the Democratic Alliance lost another black leader today. Apparently, they hate black people, the DA. They let another black leader go. Another black leader. Another black leader. Every time anybody of even remotely importance in the Democratic Alliance who happens to have sufficient skin pigmentation leaves a party because they didn't get something they wanted, Musi Maimane, all these other clowns. Every time that happens, it's front page news on the News 24. Ooh, the DA, it's a white party. Never mind the fact that, as I pointed out since time immemorial, the vast majority of voters for the Democratic Alliance happen to be colored, not white. It could not get the votes it gets from white voters alone. It's impossible. There aren't that many whiteys out there. Number one. So where are Jacob Zuma and all these race hustlers at looking at the ANC's list. By the way, folks, I will be having a video coming out on this. Please watch that video. But if I go through the ANC's list of national candidates for parliament, rank order from Munir Palapala, number 1. Number 35 is the first Whitey, Helen Neal May. Number 39, Barbara Creasy. Number 42, Gerardus Kornhoff. And number 57, Andries Karl. So in a country desperately in need of talent in politics, qualified people, educated, literate, thinking hard people, the ANC can only come up with 4 Whiteys in their entire first 100. In fact, going through the list, I don't think I saw any more after that. 200 people, and I may have missed 1 or 2, it's possible, but that's it. The top white South African in the ANC is ranked 35th. So there's 34 black South Africans that are better, smarter, more effective? No. There's 34 black South Africans that are more loyal than Miss Neal May. That's why they're ranked there. Where is the News 24 story about this? Where is the Times Live story about this exclusion of whites from the ANC? Time was, back during apartheid, the liberation movement, which it was not, it was more like a murder racketeering outfit in KZN. The ANC was comprised of lots of white folks, especially liberal Jews. A lot of liberal South Africans were in the ANC and fought in the struggle. But where are they today? Where's the Carl Nyhorses? Not that he's anything special. Where are all these people at? Where did the whiteys go? Oh, where did the whiteys go? They're gone. They're gone. The ANC doesn't represent South Africans. It represents black cadres, black cadres. By the way, interesting note here too, which I'll put in my video, is Naledi Pandor. The focus of the ANC for the past 2 months has been foreign policy, while ignoring the rubbish piling up, while ignoring no water, while ignoring no electricity, while ignoring 82 murders per day, people being gang raped, butchered, murdered, slaughtered, cash in transit. Let's ignore all of that and not deal with that internally. We're going to focus on Gaza while ignoring Sudan, while ignoring Nigeria and Niger and Mozambique and the Congo and Myanmar and Uyghurs, and the list goes on and on, including Ukraine. We're going to ignore all that and focus on Israel. So the person most in the news, other than Munir Palapala and Paul Mashatile for his alleged corruption, has been Naledi Pandor. She ranks 86th. Minister Jabba the Hutt is the 86th on the list for the ANC. Wow. So your foreign minister, one of the most important positions you have, only ranks 86th. 86th on your list. Wow. But Jay-Z is going to leave politics if they don't help liberate black people from what? ANC misery? ANC corruption? I'm with you, brother. I'm with you. Let's liberate black people from poverty induced by ANC macroeconomic policies which have failed. Let's do it. I'm all for it. What about you guys? You support Jay-Z? I support Jacob Zuma and the MK party if their goal is to liberate black South Africans from poverty caused by the ANC. Of course, that's not what they mean. That's not what they mean. That's a dog whistle for racism. Liberate black people. That's what it is. That's what it is. Well, the Democratic Alliance walked out of the Ekurhuleni council meeting. What's that all about? Well, apparently a procedural parliamentary process was not followed. The previous meeting had been broken up because of a brawl between the pajama prison suit wearing EFF and the ANC, throwing water jugs, phones, chairs at each other, beating each other up in the halls of the Ekurhuleni Council just a few days ago. And that meeting had to be adjourned because of that nonsense. Well, now they wanted to continue, but they had to get the audit approved. They couldn't approve the audit because if they had continued that meeting, they would have voted for no confidence in the mayor, and the MACO would have been dissolved, and then they couldn't vote for the audit. So breaking parliamentary procedure and rules, the government decided to go ahead with the meeting and a vote 99 to 98. And so the DA walked out of the meeting. Good on them. They did the right thing. I don't usually believe in that sort of thing, but they did the right thing. The anticipated meeting began at 2:30, 6.5 hours after it was supposed to start. The speaker, Shavenga, announced that the council would first sit for an extraordinary meeting and only then complete the last council meeting. Unfortunately, that violates parliamentary procedure and is not legal, but they did it anyway. Hey, that's what they do. Well, a municipality with no leadership. What are you talking about? Connellan and convicted rapist Jeffrey Donson, who just didn't show up for a very important meeting. Wow, how is this guy the mayor again? These people are idiots in this town. They deserve all the misery they get. Connellan mayor slammed for snubbing parliament briefing. Municipality was updating the committee on Tuesday on progress with the implementation of recommendations made following an oversight visit in January last year and providing feedback on the current state of local government authority. Jeffrey Donson, the convicted child rapist, just didn't show up. Only in South Africa, a convicted child rapist is mayor again and again and again. Well, the MK party says that the DA's calls for international observers is treasonous. Well, how is it treasonous? The ANC itself was demanding international observers in 1994, in 1998, in 2004. So how is it treasonous for the opposition party to call for international observers when the ANC itself has done that? It sounds a bit hypocritical. Sounds very hypocritical. Just because it doesn't suit your narrative, but MK doesn't want it. And I say ANC because these are just bum-hurt ANC members. This is not a real party. Yep. The party, which is the brainchild of former President and suspended ANC member Jacob Zuma, described the DA's move to reach out to the U.S. and other foreign ministers as treasonous. As party spokesperson Ndahela said that we send a very strong warning to the government of the United States, America, which has a unique history of interfering in the internal politics of sovereign nations and toppling democratic governments with popular support throughout the 20th century, from Lumumba in the DRC to Allende in Chile to stay out of South African politics and democracy. And there's a super chat from Erica. Thank you, Erica, for the super chat. 70 Rand. Thank you for your time bringing us the news. My pleasure. It does put a big crimp in my day, particularly now that we're at noon again. But let me just correct this moron from the MK party. The United States did not topple Patrice Lumumba. We didn't play a role in that, despite the lies about the CIA being involved. That was done by Congolese with the help of Belgians, not the Americans. And Patrice Lumumba was not a popular government. He was an illegitimate rogue leader who undermined democracy in the Congo. But because he's black, race hustlers like this can't see the distinction. Patrice Lumumba was an agitator, a troublemaker, and was the architect of his own demise as he murdered thousands of Congolese, sending his out-of-control army into the Katanga province, but not landing Katanga, landing elsewhere and murdering innocent villagers who were loyal to the government. Now, Patrice Lumumba is no one to look up to. As far as Salvador Allende in Chile, we didn't overthrow Salvador Allende in Chile, and it was not a popular democratic government. It was a communist government. Salvador Allende was not a popular government. So you need to go back to school there, La Mulo Undela, MK spokesperson, and learn a little bit of history before you run your mouth. U.S. interfering in democratic governments. No, throw democratic out. U.S. interfering in totalitarian fascist governments and overthrowing them. Oh, yeah, lots of records of that. Lots of records of that. Sure, absolutely. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. And do you have penis envy? Do you have penis envy because you can't do that? You have no army because you don't fund it? You really can't affect things? Maybe that's what his problem is. Yeah. He said that the DA's letter to foreign ministers, G7, alleged that the MK party poses a substantive risk to the continued peaceful nature of political discourse nation. Well, I agree. I mean, two senior members of your party, including Reddy and another one, just your youth party leader, the disgruntled, fees must fall, once upon a time, PA 2 years ago, Patriotic Alliance, now MK youth leader, your senior leaders in your party just call for violence. They call for murder, mayhem, and chaos. So what do you mean that you're upset that the DA says that there's a danger? Well, your own people said it. You are the danger. Several senior politicians made utterances casting aspersions on the Elections Commission, state elections were crucial and at risk of being captured. Yep. Now, this is News 24. This, despite the IC delivering 6 free and fair elections since 1994. Well, that's a dishonest statement. That is a lie. This is a news article saying that the IC has delivered 6 free and fair elections since 1994. It's not news. That's opinion by News 24. And who is the journalist? Sia Mantanda Kappa. Sia Mantanda Kappa, you need to go back to journalism school. You cannot put in a news article that statement because it's not true. This, despite the IC delivering 6 free and fair elections since 1994. That's your opinion. And many analysts, many attorneys would disagree with you. And I can give you a case in point. The Forum for Democrats in Northwest Province, who were cheated out of a seat for over 6 months by the IEC. And I call them corrupt because they ignored the party and violated South African law until I got lawyers involved to deal with this. And an NGO. And once a letter from a lawyer came, suddenly the IEC paid attention. But when the party, which wasn't a major party, wasn't funded by big money, just local grassroots party, was cheated out of a seat by, we'll say it's an error by the IEC, not intentional, but the effort to ignore them was intentional. The dismissive nature, the condescending foot-sec that they were given was intentional. The IEC is far from blameless. The IEC is far from not corrupt. The IEC is set up to ensure the major party runs the country. That's how the party is set. That's how it's set up. How did they come up with this mystical number 15,000 to get on the ballot? They just created that. And they think, well, percentage of this percent, that's just made up. They set this up. Now, Andela said, the Treasonous Act, therefore, constitutes a profound subversion of our democracy and gross violation of the Constitution of South Africa. Ironically, by the same organization known for its tireless hollow claims of always acting in defense of the Constitution. How does this violate the Constitution? Asking for election observers. How? It doesn't. It's like the same people that, well, Joe Biden, Donald Trump will ban abortion nationwide. No, he can't. He doesn't have authority. Where do you get that nonsense from? Where do you get that nonsense from? Other than the fantasies in your brain, Joe Biden. You cannot approve abortions nationwide, and Donald Trump cannot ban them. The unconstitutional Roe versus Wade decision was correctly rescinded by the Dobbs decision, which reverted control of abortions to the sovereign states as the Constitution dictates under the 10th Amendment to the Constitution. So stop. This guy here, how? How does this violate the Constitution? How is it treasonous when the ANC itself demanded international observers? Wow. Well, Fikile Mbalula defends the selection process for the ANC with Zondo implicated ANC officials on the list, corruption implicated officials on the list. It's okay. We defend the list. These are the best people. This is the best South Africa has to offer. This is what best South Africa has to offer, according to Fikile Mbalula. Defends the ANC candidate selection process, saying the party put forward its best. Well, that's not a good sign. List of 200 ANC members, including some implicated in the Zondo Commission's report on state capture, is the best the party can offer, according to ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula. Wow. The former caretaker president, Kgalema Motlanthe, said the former caretaker president said he told journalists at a press briefing at Luthuli House that the rigorous vetting process was worthwhile as it ensured the party had selected candidates who would add value to the National Assembly. Candidates that would add value to the National Assembly. Oh, it's a good God. I swear to God. The ANC is just too funny. So let's look at that list of people who bring value to the National Assembly. You ready for this, folks? Here are the ANC candidates for national government. We're not going to look at provincial. A better life for all. A better life for all caters. All caters, not for South Africans. National to national. At the top of the list, it's Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa Midir Palapala, followed by Sipokosa Paulus Mashatile, and then Samson Gwede Mantasha. Yes, and then Ronnie Lamola is down there at number 5. Now, look at all the whiteys. Wait, I don't see any white folks there. You see any Indians? I don't see any. Do you see any coloreds? Oh, there's a colored lady at 18. Okay, Brittany Swartz. Okay. Alvin Boat's another colored down there at 24. Hey, that's a white lady. Look at that. Look at that. Helen Elizabeth Neal May from Port Elizabeth, if I'm not mistaken, at 35. Wow. Do you see any Indians? Anybody see any Indians? Well, that's the best that the ANC can offer South Africa. So apparently, none of the 4.8 million white South Africans ranks in the top 34 for the ANC. And only 4 make a list of 200, despite being 8% of the population. Given the way the ANC loves to play with numbers, you think at least 16 whiteys would be on that list. Interesting. Well, here's a price check. This is going to scare you. Listen, this is crazy. So this is someone dug up an old receipt from 34-year-old till slip with 60 items shows how much prices have gone up in reduction in price specs. Now, this is during the time of the ANC, most of this period, just 4 years under the old party. Imagine paying R2.75 for 2 liters of milk and only R1 for a loaf of sliced bread. 850 grams at that. A 34-year-old pick and pay hypermarket till slip shared on Facebook reveals not just a staggering increase in the price of groceries, but how many of the small sample of products are now sold in smaller pack sizes. The 60 items ranging from basics such as bread, milk, fruit, veggies to baby food, biscuits, refuse bags, and pets' tick and flea collar cost a total of 146.77 Rand on May 29th, 1990 in Cape Town. However, 34 years later, from Pick and Pay online, Marie biscuits, the brand not specified, then they were 200 kilograms for 85 cents. Now you pay $19.99 for a 200 gram pack. Less than 1 Rand, it's now 20 Rand for the same thing. Fruit juice, brand not specified. 1 liter then was 1 Rand 59. Today it's $34.99 for 1 liter of liquid fruit. 1 liter, 35 Rand. 2 liters of low-fat milk, then it was 2 Rand 75. Today it is $19.99. Butter, 500 grams, then it was $3.49. Now it's $69.99. Fabric softener, 2 liters of fabric softener was 9 Rand 45. Now that's $49.99. The list just goes on and on and on. Bread, you got an 850 gram loaf for 1 Rand 3 cents. Now a standard loaf, which is 700 grams, so significantly smaller, costs 20 Rands. 20 Rand. Wow. The point here is that to get a true picture of the grocery store costs, how they've escalated, you have to look at 2 sneaky practices: shrinkflation, smaller package size, and skimflation, the reduction in the quality and cost of ingredients. Yep, absolutely. That is true. That's a good story from the Times Live. Kings Park sold out in 90 minutes. So if I do get to South Africa, I won't be watching the Ireland game in Durban, not unless I know somebody, because all the tickets are gone. Wow. 90 minutes. Tickets for the second test between the Springboks and Ireland in Durban on July 13th were sold out in just an hour and a half yesterday. Wow. The capacity of the stadium used to be around 53,000, but recent renovations have dropped that to just 46,000. There were only 21,000 tickets available to the general public. The rest were given to friends and family and season ticket holders. Yep. Wow. So it'll be a sold-out house at Kings Park for that test. The Cheetahs are breaking ranks with the other 4 rugby unions who are upset about URC. Well, not upset about URC. They're upset about SARU charging them for hosting games. But the Cheetahs say, hey, we'll pay it, man. Cheetahs break. They're just happy to have a test match. Simply grateful to be able to host a test, and note that the hosting fee model has previously been used as a standard practice. True. South African Rugby's decree wants to garner a collective $85 million in guarantees from the hosting unions for the nation's 6 home tests this year. Wow. They explode into rebellion with the Bulls, Lions, Sharks, and Stormers all obtaining legal advice on whether the local governing body can assist on such payments. South African Rugby is claiming $20 million from the Lions and Western Province, which is ironically still under South African Rugby Union administration. And $15 million from the Bulls and Sharks, $10 million from the Pumas, and $5 million from the Cheetahs. To be honest, I need to state from the outset that we simply just grateful to be awarded test for Bloemfontein, said Cheetah CEO Ross van Reenen. The model is hardly a new one. In principle, this really isn't some radical and controversial new decree. I still remember how we had to pay a substantial fee to host the 2018 test against England. To me, paying a hosting fee is standard practice, a fundamental aspect of hosting a test. Interesting. United States angry because Zimbabwe abused USAID humanitarian workers. Last Friday, the U.S. strongly denounced Zimbabwe's government for allegedly harassing, detaining, and deporting U.S. aid workers on a human rights project. An incident occurred last month. They were detained overnight, transported in unsafe conditions, had their electronic devices seized, and then deported from Zimbabwe, bringing relief to hungry, starving Zimbabweans. Now, this was actually a civic works project, not food. Well, not so arbitrary. We've all learned that the evil colonials divided Africa up for their own desires with no regard to anything when it came to the boundaries of their colonial empires. Of course, that's just poppycock. It's always been poppycock. The European powers, number one, do not divide Africa up in the way that it looks today at the Berlin Conference, which is what the narrative has always been. Actually occurred, most of the boundaries were formed after that. And finally, an honest academic study points out the reality that most historians ignore and most black supremacists and Pan-Africans ignore. The facts are the facts, and they don't like that. So let's take a look at the facts. Not so arbitrary. Colonists used existing borders and rivers to draw Africa's map, new paper argues. According to a new analysis, Africa's country borders were not arbitrarily drawn by colonial powers, but owe more to major rivers and pre-colonial states. African national borders and conflicts that arose with them were often blamed on the Berlin Conference. But a new paper in the Cambridge University Press argues the majority of current borders are based on geography, more than, if not to the exclusion of the needs of colonial powers. That includes boundaries between Zimbabwe and South Africa. And what have I told you? The boundaries are, of course, the Zambezi and Limpopo River. Those boundaries go up, for those two countries. Yeah. So there you go. Academics Jack Payne. What is Garrett saying? I set you up with Natali and Clayton. Tucker Carlson in the queue. I don't know what you're talking about, man. Europeans were also intensely interested in major water bodies and their derivatives to facilitate trade. Multiple powers routinely competed for influence over rivers and lakes, which were focal for setting borders. Numerous countries such as Botswana, Namibia, Zambia, Angola, Egypt, Libya, Senegal, Sudan, and Chad have straight-line sections of borders because they were expedient only in areas that lacked discernible local features, often low population densities such as deserts. Exactly. So the truth is revealed, but many of us knew that already. Catastrophic malnutrition in bandit-hit northwest Nigeria, and the African National Congress is strangely silent on the unfolding humanitarian crisis. Meanwhile, the ANC goes back to the International Court of Justice a third time with another third frivolous complaint, claiming that the Israelis are starving the Palestinians and that this is a crisis that demands International Court of Justice. Well, bandits are starving people in northwest Nigeria, and the ANC doesn't give a flying flip. They don't care. They don't care. Medical charity Doctors Without Borders on Monday warned of catastrophic levels of malnutrition and escalating humanitarian crisis in northwest Nigeria. Militias in the region known locally as bandits routinely attack communities, local villages, and carry out mass kidnappings for ransom, driving what the international aid group called a neglected humanitarian emergency. Médecins Sans Frontières talks of a pending food crisis in northwest Nigeria. And the ANC and the Lady Pandor are nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be found. Because they don't care about black folks. They just care about who they can use to further their agendas, to be rich and powerful. Beijing strikes back, saying that the White House demanding $100 million to boost Taiwan's defense is not acceptable. The request for a 2025 budget is historic investment in Taiwan's security, according to the State Department. But if the Chinese were mad about Joe Biden asking for $100 million, wait till they see what the Defense Department has. In a separate funding request, the Defense Department sought $500 million under the U.S. Pacific Deterrence Initiative to replenish weapons that would help self-ruled Taiwan address aggression in the region. In a sharply worded response, the foreign ministry in Beijing said it strongly opposed U.S. efforts to arm Taiwan. And you know what I say? I don't care. Hey, you commies, piss off. Stop oppressing people, release the Uyghurs, stop stealing their land, and return Tibet to independent status. Then we can have a conversation about where we're going. Till then, Taiwan, $500 billion. Give it to them. $500 million. $500 billion would be a lot of money, but $500 million. 50 people injured in a bizarre air incident on another Boeing plane after a nosedive on a flight to New Zealand from Australia. 50 people were injured in a strong shake that came down during a flight from Sydney to Auckland, prompting investigation from Chilean airline LATAM and a large response from emergency services. Passengers speaking local militia described seeing people being thrown to the ceiling and then falling to the floor, and those on board felt the sudden roller coaster-like drop. Crazy stuff, folks. Unbelievable what's going on with aviation. Everything hit the roof. A moment horror unfolds on a Boeing 787 Dreamliner. A technical event. Brian Jocott was asleep, buckled into a window seat on a 3-hour LATAM Airlines flight to New Zealand when the plane suddenly dropped, jolting him awake. He looked up and saw a man to his right pinned to the roof and several other people seemingly flying around. You know, in The Exorcist, when the girl flies from the bed and hits the ceiling, it's exactly that scene. I was like, what the heck is this? What caused the mid-air incident that led to around 50 people on the flight requiring medical treatment is now a focus investigation. Look at that. The ceiling damage from people flying up into it. Air safety investigators are likely to focus on the aircraft's software and power issues. My goodness. Boeing is collapsing. Who is running that company? Those people need to be dealt with quickly. Watch yourself. Watch yourself, warns Beijing. The Chinese communists threatening South Koreans. Woo! It's on like Donkey Kong. That's right, folks. The Chinese Communist Foreign Ministry urges Seoul to refrain from hyping the issue over confrontations between China and the Philippines. Comments came after South Korea expressed deep concern over recent confrontations at the second Thomas Shoal. South Korea warned by Beijing. Beijing the bully from Beijing. Ministry spokesman Wang Wenbin said South Korea was not a party in the South China Sea disputes, but in recent years had either insinuated or explicitly blamed China over the matter several times. Well, with good cause. So, it's getting crazy there in the South China Sea, all because of the Chi-Coms. Well, a new terror threat is emerging in Europe, which I predicted, unfortunately. A new terror threat, this tied to Hamas's terroristic conflict against Israel, which is prompting all sorts of terror attack attempts across Europe. Security services on edge as the Israel-Hamas conflict galvanizes new actors. In Berlin, authorities in Europe say that they have foiled several terror plots, some involving suspects posing as refugees, raising alarm about a growing array of threat from extremists. I'm sorry. So terrorists posing as refugees. Who warned us about this? Oh, that's right. Donald John Trump in 2016. Did he say that? He said that these criminals are coming across our southern border. Well, it's happening in Europe. And I've been telling you that ever since Angela Merkel flooded Western Europe with millions of undocumented, illegitimate, fake refugees. Yep, fake asylum seekers. Investigators found pictures of Jewish and Israeli targets in Europe on some suspects' mobile phones, which they suggested were motivated by Israel's war against Hamas. Again, the Wall Street Journal, it is not Israel's war against Hamas. It is the Hamas conflict. Stop lying. The Wall Street Journal, once a venerable, reliable news organization, has become increasingly captured. Let's follow the rest. Late last year, of a group of Tajik nationals from Tajikistan suspected planning attacks at the Cologne Cathedral and at St. Stephen's Cathedral in Vienna around Christmas. Both churches filled with hundreds of visitors in the holiday season. Actually, it's thousands. On Monday, Italian authorities said they detained 3 Palestinians suspected of being members of the Al-Qasr Martyrs Brigade, designated as a terror group by the United States and European Union. They were preparing to attack civilian and military targets in Europe. Wow. Crazy stuff. Hamas, Hezbollah, and European organizations close to them have used the war in Gaza for propaganda, recruitment, and fundraising. German security officials said donations from individuals in Europe for Hamas and Hezbollah have soared since the attack in Israel. Okay, the groups have also ramped up online activities. Well, that's hardly a surprise. Hardly a surprise. Haiti's prime minister has resigned. Yep. Prime Minister Ariel Henry of Haiti has resigned from his post. He'll step down after the establishment of a transitional authority that will govern the violence-plagued nation until new elections are held. President of Guyana made the announcement. The Transitional Council will select a new prime minister and begin the process to hold national elections. Haitians deserve a country where children go to school and their parents know they will be safe. We commend the willingness and courage of Haitian stakeholders to commit to put Haiti back on a path towards democracy, stability, and prosperity. The problem with that, of course, is that how does that do that? How does that do that? Jimmy Barbecue Cherizier, leader of the Alliance of Gangs, staged attacks on the airport and prisons, run the country. So how does coming up with the Transitional Council and the Prime Minister resigning restore Haiti to peace? The gangs must be eliminated with extreme prejudice. That's the only way that this happens, this stops. So getting rid of a prime minister isn't going to change anything. Well, the lights are back on after an arson attack at a Tesla factory in Germany. Shutdown expected to cost Elon Musk EV maker a high 9-figure amount. A week after an arson attack on a nearby electricity transmission tower cut off power and forced a factory shutdown, Tesla's Gigafactory Berlin-Brandenburg has taken its first step to resume production. Repairs on the tower near Steinfurt accelerated faster than expected, according to Alexander Montabaur, the managing director of German energy supply company EDIS AG. Yep. So, arson to shut down a Tesla factory. Joe Biden's ridiculous budget, $7.3 trillion. Calls for massive tax increases and deficit spending again. Stop that. Joe Biden on Monday released his 2025 budget proposal asking for an eye-popping $7.3 trillion in government spending, but he pledged to reduce national debt by persuading Congress to soak the rich and corporations with massive tax increases. Of course, when you soak corporations, what you do is you force them to fire people. You reduce the amount of cash they have available for capital investment and for upgrades and expanding their businesses and creating new jobs. And you also turn people against investment because corporations that are soaked for more taxes have less money available to pay dividends to investors who put less money into it and don't buy bonds. So it's just stupid. He figures the government can collect $5.5 trillion in revenue this year. $5.5 trillion in revenue in 2000, the government collected $2 trillion. Now they're soaking us for 150% more than that. Nearly 3 times what the figure was back then. Nearly 3 times as much money taken out of our pockets to feed this rapacious beast in Washington, D.C. Nearly every cabinet level agency would receive a budget increase, some as much as 7.5%. Only discretionary spending for the Department of Veterans Affairs and Transportation would drop. So this scumbag is increasing money, patronage money for agencies, but reducing benefits to veterans. Wow. Yeah, that's going to go over real well. Wow. Well, Trump vows to free January 6 hostages as his first act as president. Former president also said actions over the southern border and oil drilling would be among his first priorities. Former President Donald Trump has vowed to release individuals in prison over the January 6 breach of the Capitol if he wins the election. He made the comments in a statement on Truth Social yesterday, noting that it would be among the first acts upon taking office. My first acts as your next president will be to close the border, drill, baby, drill, and free the January 6 hostages being wrongfully imprisoned. Wow. This is his first time he suggested releasing those in prison over January 6 would be a top priority. He'll take immediate action to do so if he wins the November election. According to the most recent statement from the Department of Justice, more than 1,350 individuals from nearly all 50 states have been charged with crimes linked to the breach of the Capitol. It includes more than 486 who were handed felony charges for assaulting or impeding law enforcement. Wow. Federal Aviation Administration audit of Boeing, and things are not going well. Company failed 33 of 89 audits during an examination conducted by the FAA after a panel blew off an Alaska Airlines jet back in January. Man, dozens of production issues. And now there's a video circulating online from Wall Street Silver saying that there was an internal video from inside Boeing where people who worked there said, I wouldn't fly on this plane. People are doing drugs here and they're not safe. Wow. 6-week audit by the FAA of Boeing's production of the 737 MAX found dozens of problems throughout the manufacturing process, and one of its key suppliers, according to a slide presentation reviewed by the New York Times. The air safety regulator initiated examination after a door blew off that 737 MAX 9 during an Alaska Airlines flight back in January. Yep. A portion of the examination focused on Boeing. The FAA conducted 89 product audits, a type of review that looks at aspects of the production process. The plane maker passed 56 and failed 33. With 97 instances of alleged noncompliance. They also conducted 13 product audits of Spirit Aerosystems, which makes the fuselage or body of the 737 MAX. 6 of those had passing grades, 7 resulted. So over half of the parts for the fuselage or body failed their audits. My goodness. Well, inflation's back. It never went away. Of course, the media's tried to tell you, and the Joe Biden regime has lied to you about inflation. It continues to rise. But when it drops from 8 to 3%, well, that's good. No, it's not. Well, now it's back on the rise. Inflation climbed 3.2% through February, faster than expected, a sign that inflation could prove difficult to fully stamp out. Not really. Not really. We can get rid of inflation. Get rid of Joe Biden. We'll get rid of inflation. Well, this is a story that I need to explain. First off, it's real. People say nasty things about other people, so I'm not diminishing that. But what I'm going to point out here is how the Washington Times, like the New York Times, although not so much lately, and all these leftist outlets take an issue and make it far bigger an issue as if it's a national threat than what it really is. So remember when a deranged white man who visited prostitutes in Atlanta had a sexual problem, and he thought the solution to it in his deranged mind was to kill the prostitutes? So he went to massage parlors where he killed several people. Of course, the media jumped on it right away and called it an Asian hate crime because the young man who was white fit their stereotype of a Trump supporter. And some of them even claimed that it was a Trump supporter, which wasn't the case. So you notice how quickly they forgot about the softball game with Congress when the black shooter, tried to kill all the white Congress people. Was he black? Wait, maybe he's a Bernie Sanders supporter. Sorry, man, I misspoke there. Anyway, so they called it Asian hate crime. And then they started wildly reporting about how Asian hate crimes were up so much. They've spiked so many Asian hate crimes. And there were a total of less than around 2,000 in an entire year in a country with like 13 million Asians. 2,000, that's 2,000 too many, but that's not a national crisis. And of course, what they failed to tell you is that over 90% of those Asian hate crimes were perpetrated by black men. By black men. They didn't want to tell you that. And once they were reporting these stories and they thought they could get away with it, like the ones in New York, the Asian hate crimes, then people started pointing out the photographs of the suspects who were wanted, who were all black, and the story died. Well, here's another story. This one's about LGBTQ issues at schools. Now, the Washington Post runs this story breathlessly on its front page as if children who are lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, and queer is all those things. I don't understand why you come up with that. Anyway, but that meet this cornucopia alphabet soup of acronym thrown together just to lump people together to try to claim a larger percentage of the population than it actually is, but claim that they're under assault and they're victims of things. Really? Let's take a look at the numbers. In states with laws targeting LGBTQ issues, school hate crimes have quadrupled. Lauren Meckler, Hannah Natanson, and John Harden. Okay. School hate crimes targeting LGBTQ plus people have sharply risen in recent years, climbing fast in states that have passed laws restricting rights and education, according to Washington Post analysis. In states with more restrictive laws, the number of hate crimes on K through 12 campuses more than quadrupled since the onset of a divisive culture war that is centered on the rights of LGBTQ plus youth. All right, so what is the onset of this culture war? They don't offer a date for that. They don't offer a date. So, at the same time, calls to youth crisis hotlines have exploded, with some advocates drawing connection between the spike in bullying and hate crimes and the political climate. So, they're also on edge following the death of Nex Benedict, a non-binary teenager who died after a fight in their Oklahoma public school bathroom. Okay, first off, Washington Post, Nex Benedict is not there. That's a plural pronoun, you morons. It's his or her, after his or her fight in a bathroom. And Nex Benedict did not die as a consequence of a fight in a bathroom. That was a lie. We saw the video. Nex Benedict was perfectly fine, healthy and jovial and joking at a hospital. Afterwards, went there for minor treatment. This is another lie. Just tell the truth. People abuse other people, should be sanctioned for it, but don't lie. So, they said it more than quadruple. Remember that? They said it's more than quadruple. They don't give you a date for this. But when you look at data going back 20 years, okay? Now, these aren't in thousands. These are actual numbers. In a country of 330 million people with over 100 million children, or about 100 million children, 330 million people, and these are the number of anti-LGBTQ hate crimes reported. Not confirmed that they're actual hate crimes. These are the ones reported. The Washington Post breathlessly runs an article claiming that they've quadrupled. But let's look at the data that they themselves put in the article bearing further down. Number of here you go. So let's take a look at this. Zoom up. Okay, you can see that a little bit better now. Let me zoom one more time. All right, so here you go. From 2000, there were reported to the Federal Bureau of Investigation nationwide 140 so-called LGBTQ hate crimes. That number declined until 2014. It spiked up until 2019, and then it declined back in 2020, the year of the coronavirus. So the quadrupling, where is the quadrupling? Even at the lowest level there, it's 90 or 78. That's why 78. So when nobody was in school and could commit these so-called hate crimes, that's the figure they're going with. They should go with the figure of 150 or 145, so it's increased significantly since then. But no, they lie. And oh, by the way, nationwide in the country, 330 million people, 251 purported crimes. We don't even know if these are actual crimes. Now, let's be fair. A lot of things are never reported. But they're not making that argument. It's like rape. Most rape victims never report the rape, which is horrific. And I'm sure that most kids who are bullied never report the bullying. So that number is probably substantially larger. But that's not the argument they're making. The argument they're making is it's 4 times. It's gone 4 times. No, it hasn't. No, it hasn't. From 145 to 251 in a country with 330 million. Every one of them should not be happening. But stop lying to people. Well, Donald John Trump could seal the Republican nomination today, folks. 161 delegates on the table in primaries today. He currently has 1,078 after the very slow media reporting about the rest of those delegates on Super Tuesday. It took a whole week to get the numbers out. He needs 1,215. He has 1,078. He's the last man standing, and tonight there are 161 delegates at stake. That would take him up to 1,239 if he were to win all of them. 1,239. So Donald Trump will likely be the nominee tonight. Missouri Attorney General wants to try the brutal abuser who smashed another high schooler's head into concrete as an adult. Missouri's Attorney General wants the teenage girl slamming another high school student's head into the concrete to be charged as an adult and hit with homicide charges if the critically injured victim dies. The evil and complete disregard for human life has no place in Missouri or anywhere. I'm praying for the victim, said Attorney General Andrew Bailey. The criminal should be charged and tried as an adult. If the victim dies, that offense should rise to homicide, stated the unidentified 15-year-old whose case is being held in juvenile court. I will do everything in my power to ensure the perpetrator is held fully accountable. Wow. The culture of a complete disregard of human life is unacceptable, and it does not represent who we are as Missourians. Our prayers are with the victim, Kaylee, for a full recovery. The unidentified 15-year-old girl is facing assault charges in the brutal beating outside the Hazelwood High School that left another teenager, only identified as Kaylee, in critical condition. She was filmed hitting Kaylee on a residential road and pushing her to the ground, where she continued to punch her. Victim can be seen trying to push her attacker away as the girl continues to pummel her while repeatedly calling her a bitch. The attacker then straddles her victim and repeatedly smashes her head into the concrete road as onlookers can be heard yelling, "Damn." Soon Kaylee can be seen lying motionless on the ground while others continue to fight around her. When the camera eventually pans back, she appears to twitch. Yeah, for those who haven't seen it. Teens that commit violent acts must be charged as adults. Democrats are making lifelong criminals out of these teens by not holding them accountable. Imagine raising a child by not punishing them when they would misbehave. Yep. There's comments on that. Sick stuff. Sick stuff, folks. Well, more of the truth comes out now. We knew this was a lie all along. The so-called aide at the White House who lied about the motorcade with Donald Trump, the truth which was suppressed by Liz Cheney and the corrupt January 6th committee, which was used as evidence against defendants in other cases and evidence in the Colorado case to remove Donald Trump from the ballot out there. This is propaganda and lies, and it's being refuted by a Secret Service agent. Now that information is finally coming out, long overdue. Menage a trois, the FBI. The FBI. That's my source. Reported by the FBI. Testimony fleshes out account of Trump's demand to go to Capitol on January 6th. A newly released transcript of an interview of a Secret Service agent who drove Donald Trump's vehicle that day disputes that he tried to grab the steering wheel or lunge at another agent. When he got in his armored car after the speech, Trump immediately brought up the topic he often broached after his public appearances. How big was the crowd? Within 30 seconds, the conversation with his lead Secret Service agent took a more contentious turn, according to the transcript. The president was insistent on going to the Capitol to recount the driver whose name was not disclosed. It was clear to me that he wanted to go to the Capitol. He was not screaming at Mr. Engel. He was not screaming at me. Certainly his voice was raised, but it did not seem to me that he was irate. Certainly not. Certainly didn't seem as irritated or agitated as he had on the way to the ellipse. The driver said Mr. Trump never lunged for the steering wheel or physically accosted the agents, contradicting one of the most sensational and hotly disputed lies of testimony given to the January 6th committee by a corrupt White House aide. The transcript of the drive was the first extensive eyewitness account of what happened in the armored vehicle to the made public. I did not see him reach, the Secret Service agent told investigators in the panel. He never grabbed the steering wheel. I didn't see him, lunge to try to get into the front seat at all. What stood out was the irritation in his voice more than his physical presence. The driver's transcript adds one detail to the most scrutinized episodes of January 6th. Republicans have suggested the panel did not release the transcript because it contradicts portions of a public account of the incident from prominent witness Cassidy Hutchinson, who obviously appears to have lied to the January 6th committee for political gain. Southwest Airlines is upending its schedule because of this Boeing crisis. They're now expecting fewer deliveries of new aircraft this year and projects a loss for the first quarter because they can't get enough planes. Southwest is reevaluating its full-year financial guidance, citing uncertainty related to challenges of Boeing, and the stock at Boeing is down. The company said Boeing told Southwest that it should expect 46 deliveries this year of 737-8 aircraft, down from a prior expectation of 79. That's a big drop. So Southwest is having a negative impact. Was I still VP? Biden's memory failed him in interviews over classified documents. President Biden's interview last October with Special Counsel Robert Hur over his possession of classified documents is riddled with one phrase, "I don't recall." When Mr. Hur's staff questioned Mr. Biden about a notebook he held on to containing classified information about Afghanistan, he wasn't sure if he wrote it while he was even vice president. Hur is testifying today before Congress. That's why it's out there. An American man who assaulted and raped an American citizen at Neuschwanstein in Germany and tried to kill her companion has been convicted and sentenced to life in prison. U.S. man gets life in prison for attack at women at German castle. He raped and killed a young woman and pushed her friend down a steep slope when she tried to intervene. German Regional Court on Monday convicted U.S. citizen Troy Phillip of murder, Troy Phillip B., it doesn't tell us his last name, of murder and attempted murder for an attack on 2 American tourists and sentenced him to life in prison. The man, a 31-year-old who attacked 2 female U.S. tourists close to Germany's famed Neuschwanstein castle last June, admitted to the crimes at the start of the trial in February. His lawyers told the court that he was deeply ashamed of his actions. His full name is not released because of Germany's idiotic privacy laws. The man lured 2 women, ages 21 and 22, away from the main route near the Marienbrücke Bridge, a popular tourist viewpoint where I've taken many photographs myself, before he pushed the 21-year-old to the ground and tried to rape her. After a friend intervened, he pushed the 22-year-old down a 165-foot drop, which she survived. According to investigators, he raped the 21-year-old and strangled her with a belt while he filmed the act. Interrupted by 2 other tourists, the man threw the unconscious woman down the gorge. Man. Relatives and associates have identified the 2 women as Illinois residents Eva Liu, who died, and Kelsey Chang, who survived. What a horrific situation. I remember reporting that last year when that happened. Sad story. Red state abortion woes, as Texas has banned all but the life of the mother and viability of the fetus from happening in Texas. Women are flocking to New Mexico to abort their children. Most of the cars parked outside a new abortion clinic here are from Texas. Whole Women's Health in New Mexico is one of the closest places women from Texas can get an abortion since Texas banned the procedure in 2022. Supreme Court had overturned Roe v. Wade and returned that function back to the states, and Texas promptly passed a law which banned most abortions. So now they go to New Mexico to terminate American lives. MIT scientist Afif Akwabawi attacks the House anti-Semitism probe with anti-Israeli harangue. MIT faces a House investigation and student lawsuit over alleged anti-Semitism. Faculty neuroscientist Afif Akrabari isn't doing the university any favors with his drumbeat of anti-Israeli screeds. A postdoctoral associate at the Picor Institute for Learning and Memory mocked Jewish students as precious, superior, and divine, blasted the Israel Defense Forces as bloodthirsty and perverted Nazis, and ripped Representative Virginia Fox, North Carolina Republican, as a treasonous Zionist tool, genocide enabler, and disgusting crap stain of a human in a recent Twitter post. His comments were prompted by a Friday letter to MIT from Ms. Fox, who chairs the House Education and Workforce Committee. His Israel-hating anti-Semitic rant serves as a perfect example why the committee's investigation of MIT's learning environment is warranted. And there you go. So let's read what that says. I'm sure he's getting a lot of attention for it. Here he is. He's gotten, doesn't say how many people, 85,000 views. He says, yesterday a House committee sent a demand letter to MIT regarding anti-Semitism and have generously exploited my tweets to make their case. Exploited? Dude, you post them. This agenda is to crush any dissent from Zionism, who cannot criticize informs who controls you. The expression of my ideas are deemed a threat because they expose the war criminals in government, those responsible for ongoing genocide. Despite my working in an isolated laboratory the past 5 years, minding my own effing business and having no interaction with these precious, superior, divine Jewish students, they fear me. I made countless statements emphasizing the distinction between Zionism, a settler colonial project, and political ideology which includes evangelical Christian and Hindu adherents, and Judaism. Yet these comments are conveniently ignored because it doesn't serve their narrative. Where's the dossier on Islamophobia spewed by these very same students that need protection? You're just an evil person, buddy. Get over yourself. Get over yourself. Yep. And that's the news for today, folks. That's the news for today. Wow. So we dropped off a little bit there from the peak. We had 97. How are we all doing? You guys good out there? A bunch of little super chats came in. Thank you for that. All right. We'll be able to be here now. Ulrich Fenter, I've said repeatedly, you must have missed it, that I intend to be in South Africa for the elections, but it hinges on what happens in my election. My primary is on April 23rd. I have a debate tomorrow night. April 23rd is the primary. If I'm successful and win the Republican nomination, which I don't know if I will be, but we'll see. If I do, then that will mean that I have less time to go to South Africa. However, if I don't win the election, then I'll probably be in South Africa for up to a month. So we'll see. Yeah, so Yeah, I got up late today. I'm actually supposed to be at the War College this week, but I had the wrong information, and they sent me a message yesterday and said, "Hey, what time are you coming in?" I'm like, "Coming in? That's in April." No, we need you this week. Yeah. So anyway, I'm not there, and that's a shame because I'm losing revenue. That's money I could use. Plenty of Boeing billionaires that are perfectly capable without Hillary. What's this? All right, so where do we leave off at? Why are my timestamps not on? This is really irritating. I set that thing every time and it takes it off. ANC cartel only care about their image and bank accounts. Agreed. Okay. Rivers were barriers because locals didn't know how to build bridges or smelt iron, building materials, do math, or have written language or corporate. Okay, light rain. The USA had nothing to do with Lumumba's assassination, and the Berlin Conference didn't draw the political maps to Africa. What a source. Okay, menage a trois. You're hearing what you want. You're hearing what you want. Now, I'll repeat what I said, and I'll make sure that I'm very clear. We were all taught that the borders of Africa were drawn at the Berlin Conference in 1884, 1885, when Africa was divided up amongst colonial powers. There was a conference. It was divided up amongst colonial powers. The United States did not participate in it. However, the boundaries of modern Africa were drawn up largely after that date. After that date. After that date. And they weren't based, because the argument's always been, well, Africa's a mess because they just divided people. Well, that's not an entirely accurate statement. In fact, it's a factually incorrect statement. Oftentimes, efforts were made to group people and polities, and boundaries were made based on natural barriers like rivers. That's what I said. So, menage a trois, you misheard something, or you heard what you wanted to hear. What I said is that the Berlin Conference is not how the modern boundaries of Africa were drawn. It's after that the boundaries were settled. After that. And so he goes, well, they just have straight lines everywhere. Yeah, because there's nothing there. There's nothing to no demarcation. So, and then the other one, you want the source for that? Well, you can go to the article. I don't need to read the article. I knew this. I grew up learning this. I mean, I discerned for myself, but I'll give you the link. Where's that? Come on, here we go. So let's go back to that story. I'll get you the link for that. Okay, I think they have a link to the paper. New paper in Cambridge University Press. Let's see. Here you go. Endogenous colonial boundaries, pre-colonial states, geography in the partition of Africa. Save PDF. Okay, 20 pages long. Okay, here, I'll give you the link to it. Actually, here, I'll give you this link. Copy. I didn't need this paper to know this. I've said this forever. Okay, so paste. There's the, come on. Wait, is it too long? It's too long. I can't do it that way. Hang on a second. It won't let me do it. Too many characters. All right, give me a second here. Hang on. Be patient. So I'll have to go to the actual paper. Let's see if that works. Copy. Let me see if that works. Come on. Okay, there you go. That's the actual paper. That'll take you to the paper, not to the page where it starts at. So if you want to download the paper, you can take it down. So again, so you're asking for a source. There's a source right there. So the FBI source, I don't have it handy. The FBI source, that information was refuted by the New York Post and New York Times, reporting FBI data and a report which I read when that Atlanta thing happened. Yeah, and I went and looked the FBI data up from the link then. I have no idea where that data is now, so I'd have to go find it. But you don't have to believe me. It's fine. If you want to dispute me, knowing that I'm right all the time, that's your prerogative. So they say that the claim number one, European actors knew very little about conditions on the ground when they determined Africa's borders. The Berlin Conference was a pivotal event for border formation. At the conference and afterwards, Europeans dictated the process from the capital cities without African input. Claim number two, arbitrarily located borders. This process resulted in arbitrarily located borders, the majority of which were straight lines that neglected local features. Ethnic groups and historic states were partitioned via an as-if random process in the sense of what local features do not systemically correlate with the location of borders. To which they refute those. In the historical background, it didn't happen at Berlin. Yep. They have the evolving borders of the Congo Free State. They show that. They show the final colonial borders. They show the original border, the Berlin Conference, and they show the Congo watershed. Yeah, and then they map here border formation over time and show when the dates occur, the borders were founded. Most occurred between 1891 and 1920. 1920. So here's, and this is the perfect example right here. This is brilliant. This one right here. So let me show you this. So this is why this is garbage when people give you just broad brush nonsense. They try to teach you nonsense. They don't know what they're talking about. So here's the boundaries of Europe. So when the Berlin Conference took place in 1884, 1885, and Africa was divided up, that's what the map looked like in the upper left-hand quadrant. See if I can zoom in on that. There you go. In 1887. That's the map on the left, okay? Much of Africa wasn't touched. By 1895, there were new boundaries. By 1902, there were new boundaries. By 1960, those were the boundaries. Look at that. Strange. European powers who supposedly divided all of Africa amongst themselves in 1884-85 actually did not. They actually did not. See, another fairy tale from propaganda education. Now, that doesn't diminish colonialism. That doesn't change the fact that European powers cheekily decided that they were carving out parts of Africa for themselves. It doesn't change any of that. But the truth matters. The truth matters. This is a groundbreaking paper, and I'm glad it was published. Yep. Pre-colonial states and historical political frontiers are addressed. Major water bodies. Yep. So here you go. Pre-colonial states and boundaries, okay? Here are pre-colonial states before the formation of European colonies. Not a lot. There's a lot in West Africa, but big gaps where there are none whatsoever. You have the Swazi in South Africa. You have the Zulu in South Africa. And you have the Basotho in Lesotho. And that's it. Those are the only pre-colonial states existing. Number 20, of course, is the Gaza in Mozambique. These are Africa's pre-colonial states and their boundaries. Yeah. And you'll see that in the case of the Gaza, they wind up almost entirely in Mozambique. The Basotho in Lesotho wind up almost entirely in Lesotho. Of course, a number of Basotho live in South Africa, of course. And then Zulu expanded greatly from that little domain, and Swazi are still where they're at there. So those are the pre-colonial boundaries. Okay, where are we at here then? Does the USA really think they can win a war against China? Well, of course we can win a war against China. Piece of cake. Piece of cake. Bill and Hillary take over Clinton. What are you talking about? They're the ones who robbed the Haitians with their fake relief program. You're being facetious, I assume. Send all Israelis to Haiti permanently. Jonathan, you really don't like Israel. I'm trying to read what people are writing here. You got crazy stuff going on in the chat. Live in Seattle. I know their union thug history. The corporation is more than capable of disappearing people on its own. Not sure which corporation you're talking about. You talking about Boeing? The more you drink, the better I look. And there's Menage question on the Asian hate crime. I think I've answered it. University of Michigan, University of Maryland hate crime report says that's not true. I haven't read either of those reports, so I can't comment on those. I didn't know the University of Maryland did hate crime reports. Why are they devoting their time for that? And Michigan, same thing. Important question for you. Did you hear anything about VA hospitals getting cleared out? The house? No, I haven't heard about that, Billy. I haven't heard about that. Well, of course that girl was the aggressor. She beat that girl's head into the pavement repeatedly. It's a sick video. Admit the data submitted voluntarily and incomplete. Where do you get that from? There are requirements by many jurisdictions to report certain crimes, including so-called hate crimes and civil rights violations. They're required to report them. So what do you mean it's voluntary? But most hate crimes don't get reported. That's a true statement. The thing about the VA hospital is only a rumor, but no, I haven't heard about that. So, okay. Just when things go back to time when things were simple. Yeah, without cell phones, computers. Yeah, wouldn't that be nice? No if about it. You're going to win, says Billy. Well, I hope so. Berlin Conference was in 1885 and decolonization 1950, 1980. How does it work that Europe supposedly messed up all over 7 years when all over? Exactly. No, that's a fair statement, a fair question, Casper Labiskakny. Number one, here's the problem with the whole thing with the borders. And that goes on to that paper as well. I'm not sure they address it, but I will address it now. A lot of Africans love to complain about how Europeans set the borders and created all the conditions for chaos in Africa. But African countries, by and large, were independent by 1960, 1970 at the latest for almost every country in Africa. So 1970, folks, was over 50 years ago, 53 years ago. And in those 5+ decades, Africans had the opportunity to change their boundaries. However, one of the founding principles of the Organization of African Unity, founded in 1963, was the inviolability of borders. They agreed not to change any borders. The dictators and fascists who ran African countries decided for Africans all over the continent that borders could not be changed. Now, that's nonsense too, because we know that Eritrea became a country, South Sudan became a country, and we've got Western Sahara, which hasn't become a country yet. But the point here is that they said no boundaries can change. So the Africans themselves are responsible for the boundaries. They had an opportunity in independence to resolve all of this. The Bakassa Peninsula could have been solved in 1960s. The Seduto Island in the Chobe River could have been solved in the 1960s. All of these things, well, that one couldn't have been solved because South Africa still controlled Southwest Africa, but would have had to wait till the 1990s. But the point is that these things could all have been solved if Africans actually gave a flip about them. But it's just a lazy excuse by race hustlers to argue for against the failures of Africans and blame it on Europeans. That's what that is. I linked it back to my C drive. Oh, sorry. Okay, got you, John. Yeah, okay, well, I didn't see that. Why is it in my C drive? You're right, it's in my C drive. Yeah, sorry, I'll have to... okay, I'll tell you what. I can put that in the group. Here, I'll do this. Sorry, thank you, John. I just copied the link. I didn't see what it was. Okay, here's the link for the paper. Okay. All right, it's in the moderators group, and I'll put it in the members group on WhatsApp. So it's in the members group now. John, I think you remember that. Yeah, you are a member. So John, there's the link. You can download that. Good argument for joining the WhatsApp group. I'll also go put it in the Telegram. I'll put it in the Chris Wyatt Africa Telegram group, and it's over there, and you can download it. Sorry about that. Thank you, John, for pointing that out. I didn't even see the link. I just copied and pasted. Okay, thank you for that. No, Menage a Trois, I don't think you're attacking me. No, not at all, dude. Not at all. And I wasn't being defensive. I'm just stating that that's where I got it from. Again, when the Asian hate crime things came up, I did a lot of research on that. I talked a lot about it because I was curious about it. My experience has been that most Asian hate crimes had been, anecdotally, Black Americans attacking Asians. Of course, we all know what happens in LA. Remember the Rodney King riots? Then blacks attacked Korean businesses and destroyed them, lit them on fire, and smashed all the windows and robbed them. Always been a lot of tension out there between Koreans and Black Americans. That's just one example. Anyway, so when that happened, that story was running around. So I went and did some research, and then the media also published a couple stories, conservative outlets, to the FBI data. And then I actually had that link at that time. I don't know what it is right now. So if people want to say I'm talking about, that's fine, because I'm not going to go waste time looking for it right now. I've got a campaign to run. So, but yeah, no, I'm not Menage a Trois. I appreciate the question. It's fine. Again, people can call me on things when they're legitimate questions. You're welcome to call me on it. Just like John Jarvis just pointed out that stupid link I gave you went back to my. I didn't know it went to my computer. Yeah, didn't know it did that. Well, here's a share link. Let me try that. No, see, it won't come up. I clicked on share. It doesn't come up. Anyway, it's in the group, and if you guys are in the groups, you can go find it that way. So sorry about that. Okay. Yeah, I didn't see that, so let me delete that. I don't want to see. Let me delete that. What the hell's going on? Oh, I got to come over here now. Oh, man, I can't delete that. Okay, where's it at? So let me actually delete that. I see that now. Remove. Okay, yeah, it was useless. Okay, cool. So sorry about that. Thank you for that, John, for pointing it out. Yep. All right, where are we at now? Lorraine says, very sick video. She should be charged. Yeah, exactly. Ouch, my back. Hate crime is made up commie term. I agree, Light Rain. I agree. All crime is hate. You don't commit crime against people because you love them. I've said that many times. It's a way to create a special class of people to get special privileges as victims. All victims should get the same treatment and fair treatment. It's like hate speech. It's all hate speech when you attack people. Yes, Menage a Trois. I talk about it all the time. I guess you don't listen, man. Or you're not hearing. There is a WhatsApp group for members. That's right. Yep. The WhatsApp group for members. Yep. The Union of South Africa in 1910 was invented by the Rothschilds Bank. That's not true. The Union of South Africa was done by an act of parliament in 1910. The Union of South Africa Act. Spring cleaning, says Shawnee. Okay, cool. Yeah. So, excuse me. Yes, Menage a Trois. There's a group, and it's not very active. It's not very active. The member group. I don't even know how many people are in it now. I'm gonna try. Come on. That's not what I want. Overview. Where is settings? That's not what. Come on. If you're a paying member, there's the link. You can join that group. I've been telling people this forever. I said, you got to be in the groups, And if you're not there, if you're on Telegram, the Telegram group is free. Yep. So, yeah. So there's the link to that group if you want to join it. America's border crisis happening. Will white people eventually become a minority group or all the immigrants of color? Just ask a question. Will white people eventually become a minority group? Possibly. Are illegal immigrants of color? No, there are Russians. There are all kinds of illegal aliens coming across our border who aren't people of color. They're not a majority by any stretch of imagination, but we have plenty of illegal aliens coming in that way who are not people of color. South Africa became a republic in 1961. For 1910, we're an independent of union of 4 provinces and ceased to be British colonies. Yeah, true. But in 1948, the National Party rose to power and began implementing separate development. Join the Telegram. Thanks, Lorraine. Yep, and I put all the links to all my videos in all of those groups. Sometimes it's challenging. I wish I could set Telegram up so that those groups just stayed at the top of my feed, regardless whether there's something put in or not, because I have to go hunting for them all the time. Garrett says, lovely show. I think my goose watched you from Arkansas. Just join the WhatsApp group. There you go, Minaj. Cool beans. All right. Cool beans. All right, cool. So, yep, that one's not very active. I think there's only a couple people that are very active, and I think John Jarvis is one of them. Hendo's active in there, I think, sometimes, but not a lot of people active in the members group. So, and I it used to tell you how many members. I can't even see how many members are in it now. It doesn't tell me. So, members. Give me a total here. No, it doesn't give me a total. No. View past members. I don't even know who that is. Don't even know who this is. Huh. Someone left. Anyway, not important. So there you go. Okay. Pittsburgh not would have staff police stations late at night, not respond to break-ins or theft. That's correct. I covered that story yesterday with a news clip. They reported in Pittsburgh television, and Libs of TikTok, I think, is the one who revealed this online, that the Pittsburgh police will not respond to many crimes, and they'll have no one on duty between 3 and 7 a.m. Yeah, it's open season on victims in Pittsburgh now. Yep, it's crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. 82 likes. Got a little bit of super chat revenue today. Thanks, folks. It's the 12th of March. We have primaries tonight. 31 May 1948. You're talking about the election. I'll tell you, when I was an undergraduate at Ohio University, I researched the 1948 election and went through the microfilm at the Alden Library at Ohio University, and they had all of the papers. Went through all the South African papers that were in English, and made photocopies and wrote a research paper about that election when the National Party took over. Yep. Yeah, only 29 members. That sounds right, John. Yeah, that's the members. But the other group has 1,000 and one has 600. So, yes, Shawnee, I already covered Haiti Prime Minister steps down. We talked about that, and I was asked by Menage a Trois what I thought about that, the impact of it. So, let me see. I'm trying to find something here very quickly. What was it? I lost track of what I was doing now. Anyway, that's an interesting article there. Pre-colonial states and geography in the partition of Africa. Cambridge University Press. Just published last week. So, cool beans. The modern political map of Africa reflects the European partition of the continent in the late 19th century. Small coastal settlements suddenly mushroomed into large colonies that, at least on paper, stretched nearly the entire continent. After independence, African state leaders largely retained the colonial era international boundaries. Consequently, the boundaries were in many ways the most consequential part of the colonial state, says Herbst in 2000. A large literature examines the consequences of external border formation in Africa for outcomes such as civil conflict, international territorial disputes, economic development, and political entities. Numerous other studies analyze specific bilateral borders and premise their research design as if randomness on border location. Across this literature, the well-established conventional wisdom is that external influence yielded arbitrarily located boundaries in Africa. They say that's not the case. We revise the conventional wisdom by demonstrating that the location of borders in Africa cannot generally be characterized as arbitrary. Instead, border formation in Africa was a dynamic process that was typically influenced by realities on the ground, in particular historical political frontiers and major geographical features. Despite intense interest in African border formation and its consequences, literature exhibits a crucial gap: the absence of systemic evidence about how colonial borders were actually formed. This historical process is important to study in its own right because it yielded the modern-day countries of Africa and thus contemporary political map. Moreover, scholarly interest in studying the consequences of African borders underscores the need to understand the origins of these borders, which we show reflected in a deliberate rather than haphazard process. African borders were formed later than realized, as we document with new data. As late as 1877, European claims were largely limited to the coast, and few borders had taken their final form. This reflected the relative insignificance of the 1884-85 Berlin Conference for Border Formation. The conference addressed the Congo region exclusively, and the boundaries it created for the Congo Free State were later revised. Among all bilateral borders, the median years of initial and final border formation were between 1891 and 1908, respectively, although round spheres of influence were largely resolved by the late 1890s. We provide an alternative theory to understand African border formation. Our new facts about late border formation matter because in the interim, Europeans learned about and adjusted to the realities on the ground. And that's the truth. So once again, the Berlin Conference, just fairy tales and lies about the influence of it and the impact of it. It's what I call coffee table analysis. It's the lazy analysis of lazy academics, lazy students, and lazy political commentators who don't know the true history of things. So for instance, how many people know that an ethnic German from the Baltic states with the name Ungarn, von Ungarn, was actually a white Russian general in Mongolia who briefly ran a state in Mongolia fighting against the communists and Bolsheviks in the First World War. 35-year was executed. He was executed. He was caught by them and executed. But how many know that story? Excuse me. Papadoc? No, the National Party didn't change the Union, but what the National Party did in 1948 is begin the process of separate development. That's when it began. And they won that election because of the undemocratic process of unduly weighing rural votes, which counted more than urban votes. Scary situation in Pittsburgh. Glad I was armed. Let me ask you, what's your opinion on constitutional carry? If it's a law, it's a law. If you got constitutional carry, you should be allowed to carry. Gilbert Biggio. Oh, you'll watch the replay. Well, thank you for Shawnee. Yeah, but that's later in I don't know what point of the program was in there. Are you for or against open primaries? Bebop. I'm against open primaries. Open primaries are undemocratic. Again, I've said this many times. It's interesting people are asking these questions now when I'm running for office, but I've said this over and over again. The purpose of a primary is the state is conducting an election on behalf of the political parties, so the political parties can choose their candidate for the general election. People in other political parties should not be allowed to choose the candidate for a different political party or pervert or pollute the process. It's stupid. Now, people are going to say, but first off, I was denied the franchise for 30 years. For 30 years, I was a registered independent in Ohio and voted by federal absentee ballot. As a consequence, I never got to vote in a primary. I only got to vote once a year, not twice a year, like most people get to do. Why? Because I didn't register as a Republican or Democrat. I did that because as a commissioned officer, I didn't want to appear to be favoring one political side or the other. So when people ask me, I'm an independent. And that was a true statement. But I was denied the right to vote in primaries. And I have no objection to that whatsoever. So no one can accuse me of being a hypocrite on this issue. I didn't get to vote for 30 years. That's a long time. Long time. I didn't get to choose who was going to be on the ballot in November for 30 years. I do now because I registered as a Republican in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania when I left active service and became a Pennsylvania voter. My first election that I got to vote in was the primaries in 2020 after my retirement in October 2019. The 2019 election, I had to vote in Ohio because even though I was physically here, I was still an Ohio resident and not 90 days as a Pennsylvania resident, which is what the Constitution says. Yeah. Anybody tell you you look like... Yes, John Brown. I've told myself that. I said I look a lot like John Brown with that beard. Yep, I've told myself that. Yeah, but a very violent man, John Brown. A very, very faith-based person, but perverted his faith and killed lots of people in Kansas and then tried to start a slave uprising, which would have killed a lot more people. The fact he was an abolitionist and against slavery doesn't mitigate the fact that he was a dangerous and violent man. Yep. Hey, Allison, you are very late. Yep. Yep. So everybody's tardy. What's going on? People are popping in here very late in the stream. Well, all I ask, if you tune in late and you missed everything, you go back and watch it from the beginning or at least listen to it in the background so I get more hours. By the way, that video I did yesterday, it's picked up a few subscribers. Thanks to folks who become subscribers based on that. We're at 14,715. Slowly climbing that hill. But let me look at, that's not what I want. The content's what I want. The live stream I did yesterday, that's not what I want there. Come here. Live. I did a live stream, and that was ANC Implodes. I did that yesterday, and that one has, come on, reload this. 6,729 views, and it says I only gained 2 subscribers. That's odd. And apparently I'm getting more subscribers from video had far fewer views, and that's the one on Pravin Gordhan. So the one I did on Pravin Gordhan was also a live stream. When did I do that one? That was, where's that at? Where's the Pravin Gordhan one at? Oh, that was also, did I do 2 videos yesterday? Oh, that's right. I did the one, the ANC Implodes was 1 o'clock in the morning. Then Pravin Gordhan. That one has 1,300 views, but 1,400 views. It's still going today, but it's got me 12 subscribers, so that's pretty cool. Wow, that one's doing well. I don't know what's making that grow. But anyway, thanks for that. Apartheid was the official imitation of law, existing unwritten laws that existed way back, going back to the British still ruled. No, Charles, I'm not going to accept that as fact. No, I'm not going to accept that as fact. For instance, blacks were allowed to vote in the Western Cape when the Union was formed. So the separate development, the way it was applied, eventually excluded blacks from voting. So there's some truth to that, but that's not entirely accurate. Yep. Blacks and coloreds, Indians could vote in the Western Cape. Oh, my varsity cup pick. I didn't take a look. Let's see. Super Brew. Last week it was bad. It was 2 for 4 last week. So let's see. Oh, come on. Yeah, I agree to your cookies. How many times are you going to ask me that? All right. Oh, sweet G-Bitty Cricket. I got all 4 of the games correct in Varsity Cup. I didn't get any of the bonus points, but I got all 4. I got the Eagles over Vits. I got Mutkies over UJ. I picked UCT. And I picked the Shimlas by 11, but they won by even more. They won by 22. I got all 4 right. Yeah, so yeah, that's pretty cool. So let me take a look at that. Let me see. How am I doing here? So yeah, that's pretty cool. Unfortunately, I'm not in a pool. Oh, go back. That tells me my total, though. Let me see. So even with those 4 picks, it says I'm at 69%, but the average is 71%. But my point margin is not so great. It's 15.5, and I've got 16.3, so not too bad. But yeah, that's not bad, considering that I didn't go to any of these schools and not just evaluating them based. It's pretty cool. Yeah, on Sunday I did poorly. I had the Jackals. I got wrong. I was thinking Dallas might be able to pull it off. But I picked Houston. I got that one right. And I picked France. I got that one right. So Seattle, I got right on Saturday. I got Utah right on Saturday. I got New Orleans correct on Saturday. So I got New England. New England got beat by Old Glory. Oh, my goodness. 35-34. It must have been a barn fire there. And, of course, I got the Ireland and Scotland games wrong. They screwed me on that big time. So let me look at my captaincies now and see where we're at here, because I got Major League Rugby. And, yeah, let's go with the Major League Rugby one, okay? See where I'm at. Matt Canale's in second place. And where am I at? I'm in fourth place. I dropped 2 spots, despite getting most of the games right. Chris Marie is still at the top of the log with a big lead over Matt Canale, but Matt climbed 1 spot. Chris Marie is at 11 winning points, 3 match points, and 2.5 bonus points, 18.50. You are the stud or studette of Major League Rugby. Well done. Well done. All right, so we got games on Friday and Saturday. Yep, anyway, it's enough of that. Cool beans. Cool beans. Oh, thank you for that, Garrett. Apartheid was not invented in 1948. I never said that either. The program of separate development began formally in 1948 with the ascension of the National Party. That is true. Is it true that Biko played rugby and that he was arrested while playing? I don't know if he's arrested, but I did read that he did play rugby, so I don't know. I don't know if either are true. Yep, coloreds and blacks did vote in the Western Cape. Correct. I said that. Can I ask you something reference State of the Union? Go ahead, Bebop. What's the question? Bebop, what's your question? All right, so... Yeah, I don't know that. So I've heard about that about Biko. The thing about Biko is that Steve Biko was all about, black consciousness, but it was about not being ashamed of who you are. There's nothing wrong with that in theory. You have this bizarre situation now where you have idiotic leftist white people who are apologizing for being white, who are apologizing for slavery, even though they never enslaved anyone. They never profited from anyone's slavery. They had nothing to do with it. The events 170 years ago. These people are idiots. And you have people who are being brainwashed into believing that they're inferior because they lack skin pigmentation. That's utter nonsense. Homo sapiens are Homo sapiens. We're endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Your ability to apply yourself and achieve things is your ability to apply yourself and achieve things. Now, admittedly, we all need to be cared for as infants and children and nurtured and taught right from wrong and not stick our fingers into electric mains and things like that. So human infants are helpless, unlike horses who within moments of popping out of the womb are on all fours and trotting around. We're not ready-made to go. We need to be nurtured and trained and inculcated. It takes a lot of energy to raise a child. And then if you raise the child and you don't teach the proper values and they don't value life, like that thug beating that little white girl to death in East Hazelwood High School, this is the situation. At the State of the Union, leader of opposition was present, but no Trump at the State of the Union. Is that the norm? John Steenhuisen was at our State of the Union address? I was unaware of that. Why would Trump be there? Trump is a former president. Former presidents don't go to the State of the Union address normally. That's unusual. The front row seats are saved for the Supreme Court, for the chiefs of the military services, for all the lackeys and bootlickers that are close to the president, whatever president it is. That's the front rows. And then the members of Congress come after that. Up in the gallery upstairs, open to the public under certain conditions and restrictions. So I didn't know that John Steenhuisen was there. No, Donald Trump wouldn't be there. Barack Obama didn't go to his State of the Union addresses. That's unusual. Yeah, Trump is just a private citizen. He could go if he wanted, but it would be a huge distraction. I mean, there's no point in going. It's just be silly. And he would be accused of just being grandstanding. So, yeah. Yep. So, yeah. So, there you go. But I was unaware that John Steenhuisen was there. I don't know why he would have been there. That's strange. So, we had Viktor Orban in Florida, and we had John Steenhuisen in D.C. That's news to me. I didn't know that. The two Boer republics did not. After 48, all that began to change, but it was only officially implemented after 61. Let's look and see. Okay, let's see what we got here. Okay. Okay. Job reservation, economic apartheid. The Mines and Works Act of 1911, the Native Building Workers Act of 1951, the Native Labor Act of 1953, and the Industrial Conciliation Act of 1956. Segregation on education, the Bantu Education Act of 1953, the Extension of the University Education Act of 59, the Colored Persons Education Act 63, and the Indian Education Act 65. Sexual apartheid, the Immorality Act of 1927 forbade extramarital sex between white people and black people. the Prohibition of Mixed Marriages Act of 1949, the Immorality Amendment Act of 1950. Land tenure, the Natives Land Act 1913, the Native Trust and Land Act 1936, the Asiatic Land Tenure and Indian Representation Act 1946, the Group Areas Act 1950, which is the most notorious one, the Group Areas Development Act of 55, the Colored Persons Communal Reserves Act of 61, the Preservation of Colored Areas Act of 61, and the Alien Control Act of 73. Past laws, Natives 1923, Natives Consolidation Act 45, Prevention of Illegal Squatting 51, Native Laws Amendment 52, Natives Act 1952, Native Resettlement Act 54, Native Act 1956, Urban Black Councils Act 61, Black Local Authorities. And the list goes on and on and on. As you can see, with most of this legislation, it occurred after 48 and before 61, some after that. Banning detention without trial and state security, the Suppression of Communism Act 1950, Public Safety Act 1953, Riotous Assemblies Act 1956, Unlawful Organizations Act 1960, and the Indemnity Act 1961, all of which occurred before it became a republic during the National Party era, which is what I said. And that's not a selective reading of racist laws passed by the National Party. That's the actual laws, and that's most of them. Hey, Jeb Jackson, how's it going? Many black people played rugby in the Eastern Cape, and many colors played rugby in most of the West. That's true. Yep. That is true. The Immorality Act. Yep. Yep. Anyway, so just let people be people and protect people. Don't let people abuse other people. Make sure there's a level playing field so that everybody gets a fair opportunity. Awarding people privilege based on who they are or who they know or that sort of thing is just wrong. It's just wrong. It's wrong. It flies in the face of fairness. And fairness is what it should all be about, folks. Fairness. Everything should be about fairness. That's the bottom line. Anyway, misread his question. Misread whose question? Jeb. Yes, Lorraine, it is crazy and stupid to apologize for something you had nothing to do with. I agree. I agree. My ancestors came to this continent in 1621. The first royal governor of the Jamestown colony of Virginia was Sir Francis Wyatt, my 17th great uncle. His brother, the Reverend Hout Wyatt, is the progenitor of most of the people with the surname Wyatt in North America today. We're about 90,000. Most of those are in the U.S., a small number live in Canada, and most of them are white, but approximately 15,000 happen to be black with the name Wyatt. So, 1621, that's when they came. My last immigrant ancestor was a German who fled from Prussian rule of his province in Westphalia and went to Baltimore in 1840. No, I'm sorry. He wasn't the last. He was the next last. He went in 1848. And the other one, 1848. The other one went in 1849. Yep. All right, Mike, thanks for getting the website. I appreciate that. With that slogan, belief on equality, you should aim higher and run for governor. Well, Menage a trois, governor's been decided, and I'm not a known entity. If I get into the legislature and if I'm squawky and make a lot of noise and people pay attention to me, then maybe I might be a viable candidate for governor down the road. But right now, it takes a lot of money and a lot of help. And what I've discovered already in this race is there's a lot of liars and a lot of dishonest, cheating people. I've already had 2 times where someone made fraudulent complaints about me that were bogus in order to deter someone from supporting me, and I became aware of them. I'm also now aware of underhanded behavior on at least 3 occasions by a candidate and underhanded behavior by the political party on at least 3 occasions, all of which are meant to keep people from knowing about my candidacy and keep me from succeeding for office. I don't know why. Actually, I do know why. I think I know why. I think it's because I'm not controllable. I can't be bought, and I'm not young and pliable to where they can convince me to do favors for people. I believe that to be the case. Yep. That's my thoughts on it. I could be completely wrong, but reading the tea leaves doesn't seem that way. When I'm told I can't share things and other candidates are sharing them and I find out after the fact, I lose an entire week of material I should be able to share with people about upcoming events. It's a little frustrating. When I'm not told about other events and other candidates are aware of it and I have to work extra hard to get things done. Are they amending your local sample ballots to remove Nikki? I have no idea, Mike. No idea. I don't know. I haven't looked for the ballot. I met Jay-Z and his attorney was attorney for bank. I have no idea what you're talking about there. Yeah, Menage a Qua with that slogan, but that's always been my slogan. People should be treated fairly. Everybody should have an equal chance. The role of government is to ensure a level playing field. You shouldn't be getting advantage because you're Zulu or because you're Xhosa or because you're Afrikaner, but that is the way government works. People take advantage. I've got a lot of messages coming in. I better check this. My phone keeps blowing up. Let's see if there's something important coming on. Okay. What is this? Closed. That was, people sending crazy stuff. What's this? Offering me a job. I'm getting all kinds of crap. Oh, there's Donald Trump sent me something. It's not him, of course. It's just, anyway, a bunch of messages coming in there. Sorry about that, folks. Yes, they started in the 1950s. Yeah, after 48. That's what I said, Charles. That's what I started. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if they're amending the balance. But anyway, politics is, I've discovered, a very painful and dirty game. Look, there's no reason for it to be painful or dirty. As far as I know, all the people are honorable people that are my opponents. I have no reason to believe otherwise. And they're all, I believe, trying to do the best thing. I've been asked by people who signed my petition, and doors I've knocked on, people asking me why I'm running. And I've been asked a lot of other questions, like, would you take a pay cut? And I'm like, a pay cut? You mean the salary as a legislator in the state legislature? Yes. Like, sure. Let me put it in context for you. Today, I get $0 from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and I pay thousands of dollars in sales tax, fuel tax, property tax, cable tax. I pay so much of my income to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and I get nothing in return. The infrastructure is collapsing around me. The street that I drive into my neighborhood has got potholes in it. It looks like South Africa. It's been neglected forever. That's local government's responsible for that. They've been repairing remote roads that nobody drives on and neglecting the roads where everybody drives on. So what do I get for that? So I said, take a pay cut? Sure. I get nothing from the Commonwealth today. How much do you want to cut the salary of a legislator? Let me know. I have no problem with that. No problem with that. I'm not making any money. What happened about the rant on your Facebook page? What are you talking about, Charles? What rant? Why do you guys tell me about these things after the fact? I don't know what you're talking about. What rant? What rant on my Facebook page? Which Facebook page? My personal Facebook page? My campaign page? I don't know what you're talking about. So you're going to have to clue me in on that one. Let me go to Facebook. Hopefully I'm not going to have to sign back in. Okay, I'm there. Okay, let me get to it. Go to my Facebook page. There's a rant. I'm not seeing any rants. I'm not even seeing comments. There's no comments here. I don't know what you're talking about. Please let me know, though. I'd love to know if there's something going on I'm not aware of. Yeah, there was someone who posted on there, said that they were excited about my campaign, but they can't vote for me because I've signed a pledge to support a convention of states for a single item for term limits. And the gentleman said, term limits are a can of worms. It's going to be a disaster, and I can't vote for you. And I said to him, well, Alexander Hamilton in the Federalist Papers argued that a convention of states is appropriate for one issue, and that's what I agree with. And that's what this would be, to create a convention of states for that. The problem with that is that I support and defend this document, the Constitution of the United States. So how can I support and defend the Constitution of the United States if I would say, well, you can't do a convention of states because it's dangerous? Well, convention of states is in the Constitution. It's a remedy for the citizens to correct the legislature. Yep. Donald Trump doesn't know who I am, Charles. He doesn't endorse racists at this level. Yep. Yeah, Charles, I don't. What rant are you talking about, brother? I don't know about the rant. Now you got me all wondering here. I only knew about that comment the other gentleman made because somebody mentioned it to me. So I went and looked it up, and I found it in the business suite, but I couldn't find it elsewhere. So it didn't show up on my page. That's really weird. I don't like Facebook at all. Do not like Facebook. They are just not nice. Anyway, And their site's so counterintuitive. Figuring out Facebook is such a pain in the butt. Anyway, folks, it's been 2 hours. I've got work to do. 3 more likes. Oh, to get to 100. I've got 96. I'm always one behind. I don't know why that is. So thank you all so much. Be sure to hit the like button. Tomorrow, if I do a news broadcast, it'll probably be a smaller one or a shorter one because no Trumpers are using ballot hopping to continue pushing alternative vote. The candidate has withdrawn. Ballot hopping? Huh. Yeah, sorry. Okay, I was reading the comments here. You're all welcome. I'll probably do a small one tomorrow if I do it because tomorrow's is the debate and I've got to prep for that. So anyway, thanks a lot, everybody, and have a lovely evening, lovely day wherever you find yourselves around the world. Thanks for tuning in, and it's been a pleasure. Cheers. God bless, and we'll see you next time, whenever that may be. Tomorrow or sooner. Who knows? If something breaks, maybe sooner. I might do something late tonight if I'm still up, giving you the Trump's confirmation he's got the nomination if he gets the 100+ delegates he needs tonight. Cheers, everybody. Thanks for being here. Thanks for likes. Thanks for the subscribers. Thanks for the super chat revenue that came in. Really do appreciate all of it, and I am humbled by all of it. Thank you very much. Cheers.